What about now? I just unplugged my microphone. To mute this one. Okay. Well, so I talked for quite a while and nobody could hear me. Sorry about that. I'm definitely new to this streaming. This is only my second one, so hopefully I don't have a third issue with it. And that's good because I was doing a lot of swearing and bad talking that I'm glad nobody could hear. I'm not joking. I was legit talking the whole time. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions. I do my best to answer them. And, I've been licensed in real estate for 6 years. So in terms of the real estate transactions, I've gone through quite a bit of different types of properties, whether it being vacant land, farms, cottages, which are on waterfront. Dealt with investors who have looked at, investment properties and making sure that they cash flow, multi-unit residential. I pretty much covered most of it. I've sold places from Bowmanville all the way to, sorry, I'm still laughing at the comments and now people can hear me. But so I've sold from Bowmanville to Burlington, all the way north to Chatsworth, which is close to Owen Sound, to Midland, which is cottage country pretty much. That's where, I always like that area. It's right on Georgian Bay. So if you're into boating, stuff like that, the Midland area, the boating there is great. We just got a boat last year, so it's been a learning curve for me, and docking is the worst part about it. So we will go back and I'm going to share pretty much what's been happening. So over the last 48 hours, this is what has been sold. And I feel like I have to go to the beginning to pretty much explain everything. Wow, what a shame. Well, at least now I appreciate the comment support world that you couldn't hear me. It was just background noise. Thank you for letting me know. If there's other questions and people I'm not responding to them, it's because I'm still trying to find out. It doesn't always come through the streaming software. So what I'll do is I'm going to put my cell phone number on there. You can text message if you have a question that I'm not answering, because the last time I did this streaming, which was at the beginning of September, I got emails afterwards from people who said that, they asked questions and they didn't know why I didn't answer it. Well, that's why, because I didn't hear it. So we will go. So I always start off at this is like the home screen login for the Toronto Real Estate Board. And I always go back. So I always do the day of, and I track it every day. So I'm able to see kind of what's selling and for how much. So I focus on within Durham, the main areas that I focus in terms of updating to make sure I know what's happening in the market is Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, and then Oshawa. So over the last 2 days, there's been 250 updates on listings that have been currently on the market. And there was 101 new listings that hit the market over the last 48 hours. So properties are selling and new properties are being listed. So there's a good inventory amount coming on. There's just a lot more buyers that are in the market right now looking to purchase. Sorry, just checking everything. And then I just put it in order by sold price. And it's slow because I'm streaming, so it's like taking a hit on my bandwidth. So pretty much what I was saying was for a listing in Pickering of almost $2 million to sell in just over a month, so almost 2 months, for that kind of price. And it's a 4-bedroom detached 2-story home, and properties are selling. It's still crazy. Most of the properties between pretty much 700,000 and below are selling at a lot higher prices than what they're being listed for. And what people have to realize in markets like this is they're not being listed at market value. So if you're looking at properties and your budget is 500,000, Don't go out looking at homes that are 499,000, 490,000, 500,000, because those ones are probably priced between $50,000 and $100,000 low in order to induce the multiple offers. And why people like that is the offers that come in are firm, and they're pretty much firm, done. The sellers don't have to worry about any financing conditions, any home inspections, anything like that. So you can see on here, like for the most part, like, the properties in and around $1 million, they're not selling way over what they're being listed for, because in this market, there's not as many buyers, so you can't necessarily price it way below, because you're not going to be getting the proper buyer for that price point. So you will see like homes that are like 798,000. So this is right in Ajax, Central West. So it's kind of like in the heart of Ajax, and then to the west a little bit, and being listed at almost 800,000, selling for 945,000. So like listings like that, there's no way it's an $800,000 listing. And so people who their max is 800,000 that would go and see this one, right off the bat, they probably have like a less than 1% chance of actually having a accepted offer on this. And so I'm just checking my phone messages as they come in, just in case I'm missing anything, because the chats aren't always the best. And then the crazy market right now is anything less than 500,000, because there's a lot of first-time home buyers that their max is in and around 500,000. So homes are being listed at, like for this one on non-Quan, which is the Simcoe and Beatrice type area, being listed at 340,000 for a condo townhouse, selling for 400,000. I can't click on the listings because it does have the sellers' names, and I'm pretty sure that's an issue with privacy. So I'm just going to, and that's why I'm not clicking on any of the links to be able to show you anything, is because it's a privacy issue. And let me just hop over to YouTube just to make sure I'm not missing any messages or questions. Okay, yeah, so there's nothing, so we're good. So yeah, like the properties are still selling more than what they're being listed for. So if you are looking at selling, now's a great time to sell. If you're looking at selling and buying, that's where you got to time it a little properly, because you don't want to be stuck buying in a hot market and then things kind of come to a stop, and then you're stuck having to sell a place because you might have anticipated selling it for much more than what it's being listed for, and then the market just kind of comes to a stop, which I can't say that's going to happen. I'm sitting at 50-50 if it's going to happen or not, because in 2017 it happened when things were nuts. It happened because the government introduced an 18-step program, which made it harder for mortgage qualification, and then they also implemented a foreign buyer's tax. So these were things, along with probably buyer's fatigue, where they just got tired of losing out and decided they're just going to stay where they are. Those are some of the things that pretty much affected in 2017. Pretty much that's what happened there. And then again in March 2020, so this year, again, things started getting crazy, where it was multiple offers on everything. Things, that were really nice being priced at 469,000. I bid a property. It was listed at 469. It was a duplex on in the Vanier district. I think it was on Creer or something like that, which is Stevenson in the 401 type area. And it was listed at 469. We offered 525, and it sold for like 620. That was a duplex, and it was a nice property, but it was just, that was March. Things were crazy, and then COVID happened. So I believe it was like March 18th, I listed two properties on the same day. One was a condo in Scarborough, and the other one was a detached in Pinecrest in Oshawa. And pretty much we listed it on the Saturday, and then we listed it on the Thursday, and then on the Saturday, it was pretty much state of emergency within Ontario. My open houses had absolutely nobody, so I did like Facebook Live open houses, just try and get some attention brought into it. Luckily, the condo, we were able to sell it for a great price, and she was able to, move in well, at that point she had already bought in a place, so we were able to sell, and then she was good. So that was good. The one that was in Oshawa, it never actually recovered, but then the sellers kind of changed their mind on selling. So it worked out for them, but it was just a crap time where everything pretty much came to a stop. So I have one question here. Which area do you specialize in as a region? I want to say I specialize in the Durham region because this is where I live. But in reality, being born and raised in Brampton, I know Brampton equally as much as I do Durham. Durham, I learned it. So from 2012, being a new occupant to the Durham region, I had to learn places. And the story I tell a lot of people when I'm meeting them for the first time who are looking to move to Oshawa is when we first came here, it was because my girlfriend, who is now my wife, was going to University of Ontario Institute of Technology. And for the most part, she would be taking the Go bus, and she would take it from Brampton all the way to Oshawa. And the route that it would take would be pretty much 407, and then that's where the 407 ended in Pickering on Brock, and then so it came to a stop. And then it would just take Winchester. So it was back roads pretty much from Pickering all the way into Oshawa. So for the first, 6 months to a year of her going to university there, she just never saw any city or anything like that. And then when I would take her to an exam on a Saturday or something when I wasn't working, we would be taking the 407 as well because it was just, faster to come. And then I remember going one time and it was just like, you know what, maybe we just take the 401 and try that route because it's a Saturday, shouldn't be much traffic, and then we can just, take our time getting there. And then we got off at Simcoe, which if you're ever getting off at Simcoe in Oshawa, you get off at a street called Bloor Street, you turn left, and then you turn left again onto Simcoe. And that's the first time we really saw like downtown that it was like Oshawa was an actual city. And so that's how small my knowledge of Oshawa was. And we ended up moving here, and in 2012, the realtor we were using, because I wasn't licensed then, he was the one who gave us it was like probably like a 3-hour tour of Oshawa, and we got to check out some listings in different areas, and he really shared the different areas and what there is, what there's coming. And so that's kind of like a model I use when I have people reaching out, is I do the same kind of thing, because if you're coming to a new city, you don't know where anything is. And in most cities, there's bad areas. And if you're coming to a city not knowing where those bad areas are, it might not be very good for you, especially if you have young kids or anything like that. And then you move into an area that is maybe not as desirable for that. So the two areas I specialize in or focus mostly would be the Peel region and then the Durham region. But again, I've helped people from pretty much farms in Chatsworth to cottages in Midland, and pretty much single family homes in Burlington, condos in downtown Toronto, like pretty much everything I have done. But I always like to say I focus on the Durham region because this is where I live, and it's a lot easier for me to go out and show every time. But I've made it work with all the other ones, and nobody has really ever felt like I'm not available for them. So that's kind of something that I've always been happy with. So hopefully that answered your question. Just checking to see if there was any questions on Facebook. Okay, so we're good. Support World, he just said, when I plan on selling my existing or buy another, I would definitely keep in touch with you. I emailed you and have been following you. Really impressed with your knowledge. Well, I really appreciate that. Real estate is kind of what I've done. I've been full-time in it for 3 years now, and it was the hardest thing to actually jump into it being full-time, because being in real estate, there's no salary. So you only get paid with when you make sales, and so that was the scariest part for me. So it was an opportunity that I took back 3 years ago to jump in full time, and 100% glad I did, because it's been 3 years that I haven't felt I've had to go to work at all. So it's definitely something. So if you're looking at buying or selling or investing, you can call, text, email, send a carrier pigeon, whatever is easiest for you. I'm here to make everything go easier. If you've never watched any of my videos before, you can go on to YouTube and you can type in Oshawa, Whitby, Ontario, Ajax, Ontario, or Pickering, and then my videos will come up. I just started doing Toronto videos now. I think I've done 3 so far with Toronto, and I have 2 more to do. I took a pause on that because I wanted to touch back in Durham with Oshawa, Whitby, Ajax, and Pickering, and cover off the top 5 schools, because tons of people have been reaching out, and it's questions geared towards the schools and what are the good areas. And I kind of always tell people, if you go to where the good schools are, those are homes that will either hold their value or appreciate the most, because there are quite a few people that put schooling or being in an area of good schools at the top of their list, because they just want to give their kids the best opportunities in going to good schools. If you have any questions in regards to the real estate at all, or just the different areas, you can drop it in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer it. What else can we kind of cover here? Still sorry at the beginning, the first, I don't even know how long I was talking for, where there was no volume. That's brutal. The first live I did, I didn't respond to a lot of questions. And now the second one, I talked for the first 10, 15 minutes with no volume. Yeah, sorry about that. But luckily I have videos you can go on, and when I'm uploading this video to YouTube, I'm definitely going to cut out the first 10 or 15 minutes of no volume, because that's just downright embarrassing. So what I can show is the Fraser Institute. And so anybody who's looking to a different area, this is kind of like a great resource for you. And this is kind of what I would be doing if I was moving to a new city. And this is what I do when I'm giving the top schools within these areas. So I'm showing you all of my tips and tricks and how I make the videos and get my information. So you can filter it pretty good. So I always focus on elementary schools, because there's tons of people that are moving to Durham that have young children, and there's people who are moving here that have older children that are going to high school. It's going to be slow because I'm streaming, but so let's just type in Oshawa. Questions, ask away. So when I'm doing map view, that's not always the easiest to maneuver around. So I would go into list, and then I just sort it by the score. You can see, like within Oshawa, unfortunately, there's some schools that have pretty low ratings. So this is kind of where I got the top 5 from. And then you would click on this. So like if you were a Francophone, you would be going to try and get into this school. It feeds into anybody within Oshawa and Whitby. I believe the website was in French. So yeah, I'm not good with French at all. I don't know it. The only reason I passed grade 9 French is because I promised the teacher I would not take grade 10 French. That's a little tidbit as to how I was. French as a language just did not work with me at all. And then you go on to their website. So this is a bad example because this isn't in the Durham Catholic School Board or the Durham District School Board. So we'll go with this one. This one's Kedron Public School. So it shows you the ranking. And then this is part of the Durham District School Board. You go onto the Durham District School Board website, and then you would find a school and you would type in the Cadron. We'll do it. That way you can see everything. COVID app, that's new. Go to the schools and then find my school. Pretty much like on these, I'm an open book. If you have questions, I can, I'll answer them for you. Even if you have a realtor, this is your opportunity to ask those questions that are more geared towards the area, because what I do find is there's a lot of people moving to the Durham region that are using a realtor from out of town that maybe have never even been in Oshawa, Ajax, Whitby, or Pickering. And so there's a lot to know when you're moving into a new city. And so even if you have a realtor, ask those questions on these lives and I can answer it for you. So we'll search by school. And do the drop down, and we're looking for Cadron Public School. Search. And this is what I also do. Sometimes when people have selected, okay, they want their children to go to this specific school, I would find this boundary map, and then I create a search in the Toronto MLS, which pretty much copies this. Oh, I did this last time. Really slow. So pretty much I would do a perimeter mimicking this exact shape. And that way, anytime any property is listed within this school boundary, they are notified. And the boundary maps do change, especially in the northern part, because there's a lot of development going in. So these things could change at any time. But as it is right now, and this could happen regardless of where you're moving to, schools can change. But so I would do a search based on this, and then pretty much when they move here, they know at least their kids are going into a good school. Sometimes people don't necessarily research the schools ahead of time. And, if you have kids and the school system is important, then this is something that you are going to want to make sure that you're in an area at a good school that has a good ranking. So that's kind of what I do. So we'll close that. So here's a question here. What exactly is within New Seton? Just housing. It's a lot. So it's an area that is pretty much residential, because keep in mind, Pickering is a large area, but most of the area that is developed in homes is on the southern part. So once you get close to like even Taunton, which in Whitby, Ajax, Pickering is fully developed. You go places like Pickering and it's not as developed. So it's just a lot of residential as it is right now. And I think the one thing that's hindering a lot of future development, and with people not knowing, is the talks of that Pickering airport that could be coming into there, because they don't want to spend tons of money developing things and then it's just going to be close to an airport. So I'm guessing that hinders it a lot, but that Pickering airport is going to be much further north in the 407 even. But it's just that area of Pickering has just never fully been developed. So now it is being developed, and it's good because it's drawing in a lot of new development into Pickering, especially with the Durham Live that's opening up. And then it just makes it so that there's more coming in. But as it stands right now, that whole New Seton area is just mostly housing. And, things could change with that, because if you look at North Oshawa, for example, that whole Simcoe and Conlin and Winchester area was all just homes. And then now you have, there was the school there as well, but it was just homes on the northern side. But now they're building that relocating shopping mall. That's that outdoor shopping mall. So that's completely changing everything. So that whole Simcoe 407 type area is being developed. There's 2 condos going in there. And places like New Seton within Pickering could be exactly the same with that, but there's no way to know for sure. You just have to keep following the Pickering website, and I sure will be to keep everyone informed in terms of what's going on there. Go back to questions asked away. So it's a crazy market right now. It's been really busy. There's been tons of showings and tons of offers, and a lot of people think that realtors like when markets are crazy like this, and that's not necessarily the case. I prefer back when you can negotiate, because I was able to negotiate deals, and right now it's just, in most cases, the best price or the best conditions or a combination of both. And that's kind of, it's not fully negotiating. It's just kind of who's going to offer the most, and those are the ones who are going to get the house. Just going to check, make sure I'm not missing any messages. I streamed to Twitch, and that was the first time I've done that. So I have this going on Facebook, YouTube, and then Twitch. So I created a Twitch account specifically to be able to do this. But when I was doing my research on it, it seemed to be just tons of DJs and then gaming, like watch people play video games. Okay, we're good there. Is there any more questions? I think that's pretty much it. Well, I'm gonna try and do these, on the minimum once a month, and sometime will be twice a month. Like September, I've done this twice now. It's just going to give opportunity, and it might be a lot of just me blabbering or whatnot, but the fact is it gives people an opportunity to ask questions, and that's the number one thing, is because if you haven't bought a ton of homes, if you're new to Canada, or you're just a first-time home buyer and it's first time buying a home, it's really intimidating, and a lot of people don't realize how easy the process really is. It's a lot of the times in the steps for buying your first home is get approved on financing, shop for homes that you like, and submit offers. And then if it's in a regular market, you can have with conditions, which would be typically the finance condition and the home inspection for 5 days. And then pretty much everything from there is dealt with from lawyers. And then you close on that property on the closing day. And the number one thing is being prepared ahead of time. A lot of people will say that they've had conversations with their banks, and the banks have recommended that, okay, you're good up until $500,000 or $1 million, and then they'll go and they'll have their heart set on properties in that price range. And then when push comes to shove, and then they actually go through the process, it turns out they might get $100,000 less or $200,000 less, and at that point they're just so discouraged that the house shopping just kind of comes to a stop. So deal with getting your mortgage first, and then you shop for a home. And the process is it's really easy, and sometimes people might complicate it, but it's really easy and it's fun. It's supposed to be fun, and that's why I really like real estate, is because I get to get in and show people homes and see them like a home, get a home, and then how they are. And that's the number one reason why I love real estate, is the excitement behind it and being able to get in and really help people every step of the way. And being in real estate for the 6 years, I've built in where I know a lot of different people within the industry. So if you're looking at movers, or you're getting appliances or furniture, I have different relationships with different companies that if a realtor is going to recommend something to you, you know that their reputation is online as well. So they're only going to recommend people that they kind of trust. And so, yeah, it's really fun. And I love it. And yeah, it's a career that I will continue to do probably until I retire. But then even when I get to the retirement age, I can't see changing it because it's a good life. It's enjoyable. And I think that's it. So I'm just going to, before I sign off here, I'm just going to check the messages one last time because I'm paranoid that I'm going to miss questions. I don't want to do that. Again, I'm sorry that I spoke for the first 10 or 15 minutes with no volume. Thank you for sticking around. And Support World, thank you for letting me know that. I wish I knew much earlier, but again, I'm still getting used to it. And by the end of it, I'll be a pro. I'll know how to stream and do these lives much more efficient. So any more questions before I sign off here? Real estate related, the paperwork, the process, if I know anything. Where do you recommend? Finally, questions. More questions. That's what I like. So Dubu-san, where do you recommend buying a home in the GTA area? So when I was buying my first home, I was living in Brampton. I was living in my parents' basement, and we were looking at our first home, and we kind of, there's this company called Rain, and it's a real estate investment network. And they had this program, it's called the Acre Program, where you analyze different cities. And, if they check off a lot of the boxes, which has to do with, transit. So there's going to be future transit developments. There is an infrastructure in place already. It's commutable to a major city center, which would be Toronto. Employment rates are good and vacancy rates are good. It's one of those things that, you can pretty much pick an area that is going to draw a lot of people in. And that's what we did. So in 2012, we bought in Oshawa, and that was when, semi-detaches, 1970s, semi-detached homes were, 210,000. And 2013, the detached bungalows were 300,000. So fast forward, so that was kind of what I always recommend people kind of do is follow a major center, which would be Toronto, and then kind of branch out based on affordability. So if you're looking at buying a home anywhere in the GTA, it really comes down to budget. If you have $1 million, your options are going to be a lot more than what you would have if your budget is 500,000. There's no bad areas as far as I'm concerned in and around the Greater Toronto area. It's going to be a lot of personal preference and affordability. And that's the number one thing. And the reason why Oshawa has gone so crazy over the last number of years is because Oshawa was kind of the last super affordable place that was 100% commutable to Toronto. So you could take the GO train, and it's a full GO train service. So that really attracts a lot of the young families who are looking to move out of Toronto, but they're still working in Toronto. And they might not have a car, so they're looking to move here where, they don't have to drive on the 401 to the 404 to get onto the Gardiner Expressway. So they use the GO train, which would probably run about $400 a month or so per one person. And so that's why Oshawa is an area that a lot of people have been pushing. I lived in Oshawa from 2012 until 2019, just this past December. And I really liked my time in Oshawa. And the only reason we moved to Whitby is because we were in a Minto home in North Oshawa. And then 3 months after moving in there, we got an email from Minto, and they were doing this new development in Whitby. And both my wife and I fell in love with the home, and that's why we went there and we ended up buying it. That's the downfall of being in real estate is if you look at car salespeople, they always have the new car that they're able to drive around. It's usually a demo that they can drive around so that they can have their experience with that car, and it helps with the stories. And so they're just fascinated with that industry. And I think with being in real estate is kind of the same thing. They're always looking to that bigger and better type home. And so I fell in that trap. And like, don't get me wrong, we're happy where we are, but if we stayed where we were, we would have been equally happy. We wouldn't have known what Whitby was like. So Whitby's a good place to live. It's more pricey than Oshawa, but it's just because you're that much closer to Toronto. And Oshawa to this day is still battles a little bit with the stigma of Oshawa and being this motor city. And, you know, people still think that Oshawa was so reliant on the General Motors plant, where I think over the last year and a bit with the GM plant closing, that's really demonstrated to people that we weren't as heavily reliant on it as people would think. A lot of people that I knew that worked at GM, they didn't even live in Oshawa. They were commuting from Bowmanville or Pickering or Cobourg or Newcastle. So, and it was only spread out. I think when they closed, it was 2,500 people who lost their jobs, which was unfortunate. But the jobs are coming back into Durham, which is like the Durham Live is 10,000 jobs. And then in Whitby alone, Amazon is, they're having a fulfillment center here. So these are just good amount of jobs for people. I hope that answered your question. Dubusan, and I see you have another one. Support World, why is Curtis so expensive even though it's further than Oshawa or even Ajax? Clarington in general is expensive. Why? So the people who are moving to Bowmanville or Curtis is, and I remember this because I had a client who, they were my first ever client, and I found them a townhome in Whitby, and they were moving, they were looking to get out of a townhouse and they were moving into a detached. And pretty much he was like, you know, they're looking at the Curtis area and they have to skip over Oshawa. And I was like, why do you want to skip over Oshawa? Like, we live there. Like, I live there with my family and we're really happy there. Like, it's a good place to live. It has all the amenities you would need, tons of families, good transit systems. It has, you know, the Oshawa Center. It has the GO train, Lakeview Park. Like, there's so many positives. And it was because he had to skip over it because of it being more pricey than what they could afford. So places like Clarington is still cheaper. Like, and as you go from Scarborough to Pickering to Ajax to Whitby to Oshawa to Curtis to Bowmanville, the prices kind of progress. Like, there was one property I viewed yesterday. It was a 2,600 square foot detached in Bowmanville that was less than 6 months old, and it was being listed at $799,000. And their offer day was today. And I believe, like, I only got notified for one offer on the place. So that's $800,000 for a 2,600 square foot detached double car garage home. In Oshawa, that same one is between, you know, $850,000 to $900,000 if you're going to compare equal sizes, equal age of home. And the same home you can buy from the builder for $760,000 in Bowmanville, which is absolutely brand new. So the price points are cheaper. Clarington last week or the week before in Curtis, sorry, not Clarington. Well, Curtis is in Clarington. I viewed a townhome, and it was listed at $500,000. It sold for $535,000. In Oshawa, I was looking at a townhome. It was a 2-bedroom one that was at Ritson between Taunton and Conlin, and it was listed at $499, and it sold for $603. And so that was Oshawa. And other properties, it was in Curtis that we looked at, and it was a 1.5 car garage, and it sold for $680. So price points in Curtis are less than what they are in Oshawa, Whitby, Ajax, and Pickering, and it's still because it is commutable. So the last stop on that GO train for full service right now is at the Thornton Road GO station, and they do have plans. Metrolinx has announced this on their website that they're doing another stop at Ritson and Howard, like that area within Oshawa, but they're also doing another stop in Bowmanville. So these are areas that now you can go up more because now you're going to have a regular GO service that you can get to Union Station if you are working in Toronto, and it's going to be a regular service. So you can pretty much go from first thing in the morning and come back late at night. And that's what really is driving a lot of people to come to the Durham region. And one of the things with Oshawa was the 407. That was the biggest draw to people because you can move in North Oshawa at that point for like $600,000. You get a big detached home, where that same home in Markham would be north of $1 million. So a lot of people were moving to the Winfields area of Oshawa. So I elaborated a lot more on that question than you probably asked, but that's kind of that's my reasons. Okay, so I answered that question for Support World. And then Dubuson, I feel like Pickering and Scarborough are comparably cheap, thinking of its location, like comparing its similar proximity. Newmarket and Oakville. I feel like these two places have potentials. I feel like Pickering and Scarborough are comparably cheap. I do agree with you on that. So Scarborough is one of the more affordable areas of Toronto. There's that, and then by the airport. So those are kind of two areas that are still semi-affordable, being in Toronto. And then what's really getting the prices up in Pickering is people can go from Scarborough to Pickering, or if you're looking to buy something in Scarborough, you have the double land transfer tax. People can come a little bit further into Pickering, and then they're only going to have the one land transfer tax. So when you are, and one of my videos I did on Oshawa, I think it was the cost of living video. I'm going to try and find this. Bear with me. I'm just going to find something and then I'll be able to pull it up. Of course, I can't find it because Oshawa was the first city I did. I don't even know where this map is. Bear with me, I will find it. I think I did it again. For Whitby. When I do my cost of living, pretty much every city, I've used this one map, which okay, here it is. So I'm going to share something with you. Okay, so this here would be kind of showing like the house prices. So now I used Union Station, which you can't see on my screen share. So I'm just going to hide this comment. Okay, so right here would be Union Station, and you go. And I've even put like the amount of kilometers to Union Station. And so this is the 401, which takes you kind of all the way through. And then this is the 404, which is taking you in. If you were to continue going down, it ends in Keswick or Georgina. And this is the 400, which would take you all the way up to Barrie, to Midland. Keep going, you're in North Bay, Northern Ontario, all that kind of stuff. And then this here is the 410, which takes you Brampton, Caledon, Orangeville, Shelburne, and then Owen Sound would be all the way over here. Or, sorry, all the way over here. So this was Union Station. And then, so this is the kilometers from Union Station. And then this is the house price. And this is as of July 2020. So I haven't updated this in the last few months. So I know these numbers are going to be higher. But if you're going to do comparatively based on kilometers, so Pickering, you could compare more so to Richmond Hill than you could to Newmarket. So Newmarket is about 15 kilometers further than what Pickering is. So when you are going to compare, it might be more comparable to Brampton, but it's just a preference if you want to live in Brampton. I was born and raised there, and it's definitely grown. The population there is insane. The 410 is pretty much, if you catch it on a bad time, which is pretty much any time, unless it's late at night or super early in the morning, the traffic is not that fun. So this kind of shows you, if you're looking comparatively, Pickering is one of the more affordable areas, and that's why the Durham region has been exploding right now. Is because of the house prices and how it's been when you're going to compare it to other places. Open this back up. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Let me just find out where you are. Okay, Scarborough is no longer cheap, pretty expensive in my opinion. Pickering will soon get out of reach. That's very true. So Scarborough and a home that you can get in Oshawa that would sell in and around 600,000. In Scarborough, you're looking at between 850 and 900,000 right now, and that would be a 3-bedroom detached home with a single car garage. So it's nothing huge. Bungalows are, between the 800,000 to 900,000 depending on it. And then you get into like these large homes and they go for the millions. And if you're getting into a double car garage, you're north of $1 million as well. So Scarborough is no longer cheap, but when you're going to compare Scarborough to other parts of Toronto, it is one of the last more affordable areas within Toronto. And a lot of people are drawn to Scarborough because they want to live in Toronto and be on the TTC. And Scarborough is one of those areas. Scarborough and then close to Pearson International Airport or the Martin Grove type area. Those are the two areas. And then this one, what do you think of Kingston? Is too far from Toronto and comparatively have lower potential. So Kingston is an area where a lot of people have been going to, but you're almost separate from Toronto as a whole, because people who are living in Kingston, they're doing everything out the Kingston way. They're not commuting to Toronto every day, because that is just, I think I drove to Kingston, it was 2 hours from Oshawa, and that was a couple of years ago. And then you have another 45 minutes to an hour. So that'd be a 3-hour commute one way. It'd be a little bit much, but again, it's price point. And I know things in Kingston are cheaper than what they would be in Toronto or the Durham region. And it's, in terms of future growth, I don't feel it's going to have the same impact as the rest of the Greater Toronto area, because people who are coming to Canada or to Ontario are focused in and around the Greater Toronto area, because that's where a lot of the jobs are, and it's easier to adapt in places like Toronto, because if you are moving from a different country, you're going to be reliant on Google and try and find out where most people are moving, and that's why they're being really drawn to the Toronto area, because it's easier to adapt for them. It's crazy expensive. Rentals are hard, everything like that, but it is easier to adapt for them. Next question. Do you recommend to buy a house now or next spring? And condo versus townhouse versus detached? Again, it's going to be affordability. So if I had a crystal ball, I would be able to answer the first part of your question in regards to buying now or next spring, because there's no way to predict what's going to be happening then. Right now, it's crazy. The amount of first-time homebuyers that are coming to Durham with, it's crazy. Like, the amount of people who are moving to the Durham region is all people, or sorry, I know you're not looking specifically at the Durham region, but pretty much the GTA, a lot of first-time homebuyers. And in that $500,000 to $700,000 price range, it's one of the most competitive, because you're dealing with first-time homebuyers, downsizers, and then also investors. So that's why it's getting so much traction right now. And if things continue down how it is going now, within the next couple of years, house prices will be much higher. Potentially, I think September was a big telltale to see how things were going to be trending, because you had, and I just realized I'm talking, you can't see me at all. So in March, everything happened. The government introduced the CERB, and there was the mortgage forbiddance that kind of came into play. So a lot of people, September was that deadline to, the CERB was going to be ending, people getting their jobs back or not going back to work. And then the mortgage deferrals was also up in September. So there's going to be a lot of people that, might realize at that point that they can't afford to live in their current house anymore. And September was that month where a lot of people are going to be facing that tough decision. And so I think within the next month from now, you'll be able to really see what's going to be happening with the market, because there's no way to predict it. If I'm going to go based on the numbers from what I'm seeing, homes are still selling really quickly, and they're selling for more than what they're being listed for. So there's still a strong demand coming in. The last 2 offers that I had accepted, one of them, it was a condo in Scarborough, and I wasn't competing with anybody else. And then the other one was a townhome in Curtis, and I was competing with 5 other offers. So it's still really strong right now. Will it end? I don't know. I wish I knew, because then I could guide a lot of the buyers that I'm working with in terms of waiting or not waiting. But at the same time, it's going to be a gamble either way. If you jump in and buy now and then things slow, you paid more for a house than what it's going to be worth in the spring. But then if things continue trending down this path of just homes selling for more than what they're being listed for, and the amount of buyers that are coming in, the prices are going to go up. And if you're looking at condo versus townhouse versus detached, in that order is how they are going to appreciate more. So with condos or townhomes, because they're in that starter house price along with the downsizer price range, it's always going to have a good amount of supply for people getting into the market. Once you get into the $800,000 price ranges, that's where, if the market does slow down, that's where it feels it the most, because people who are in those $500,000 homes might not be selling to move up. And so I always recommend people, if you're buying to live or to invest, so if you're buying to live, buy the most that you feel comfortable with spending, that you can afford to maintain on a monthly basis. And the reason I say that is because if you buy a condo, if you're looking to live and you're going to buy a condo or a townhouse, you're probably going to outgrow that a little bit faster than you would a detached home. So if you're forced to have to sell, now you're spending quite a bit to sell your home. You're going to have the realtor commissions, and then you're going to have lawyer fees, and then you're going to have land transfer tax on your purchase, where if you just bought a little better at the time of your purchase, and you can get X number of years out of that home, then it's going to actually save you in the long run. So it happens. They'll get approved for $600,000 and they don't want to go above $550,000, but then 3 years later, they're starting a family, they'll grow a home, and they want to move into a $700,000 home. Dollars in closing costs and realtor commissions and everything like that, land transfer tax, that if you just spent the extra $50,000 at that point, it would have saved you in the long run. You wouldn't have to go the hassle of moving. I've moved 5 times since 2012, and I'm hoping I never have to move again, because moving is not fun. We have 2 small kids, and moving is not fun. And that's why it's like, buy right so that you can hopefully live in that house you're in a long time, until at least you're ready to move and you're good. Okay, so the next question, also downtown Toronto, one bed 600,000 condo versus Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa house with the same price. Which one do you recommend for investing purposes? So right now, the condo market in Toronto is, you have a lot, there's quite a bit of inventory right now because of that whole Toronto changing the Airbnb rules. So it's forcing people to either switch to long-term rentals or having to sell and just getting out of it, because when you factor in what they've paid for the condo and then the maintenance fees that they're paying on top of that, it might make it so that if you're going to be going more of the long-term type rental, you're going to be sustaining a little bit of a loss every month, where they're just kind of like, there's no point in doing that. Let's just sell, get out, and then maybe shift into, a 2-unit property or something else that can cash flow, or they'll just invest in something else. But it's typically they'll keep it within real estate and they'll just shift it to something else. So I personally, I know people who are dead set with condos in Toronto because they're going to be skyrocketing, and that could very well be the case. And if you are buying a house with buying a condo in Toronto with a big down payment, your carrying costs are going to be low, and you can actually make money or cash flow every single month, then that's going to be for you. If you're going in with a smaller down payment and then you're going to have, a high mortgage, which the rates are super low right now, so the rate still the monthly payment might still be really good. But when you factor in that, the maintenance fees and the property taxes, run the numbers. I always figure if you can house hack, which would be taking a single family home, maybe converting it into a duplex, it's going to force the appreciation, and then you're going to be able to get more money per month on the cash flow coming in. And there's spreadsheets for all of those, and you can just Google them, or you can reach out. I can send you the one that I use when I'm working with investors, or back in the day when I had my investment properties. It's a spreadsheet that we would be able to use and assess on properties to make sure that they're going to make us money every single month, and then they're also going to make us money in the long run. Thanks for taking the time to address our queries. What is your opinion about Guelph? So I don't know too much about Guelph. It's something that I know people who live in Guelph and they like it there. And I know Guelph has gone up quite a bit in house prices, and people who are moving out of Peel, what I found is they're usually comparing Oshawa to Guelph. And some people will go to Guelph and will prefer Oshawa. Others will go to Guelph and then prefer Guelph. So it's kind of, I think you go there and you can check out both. Check out the GO train service going into Guelph, because if it's a regular service, the same as it would be on the Lakeshore East line, that gets you from the Thornton Road GO station to Union Station from early in the morning till late at night, then that's going to be good for people who are looking to commute to Toronto. Guelph is a good area. I played hockey there growing up. I don't remember much of the city itself, and I haven't been there a ton. But Guelph has not. I haven't heard a lot of bad things about it. So I think you have to go and check out both places and see kind of what's going to speak with you and give you that good feeling, because you'll go there and just drive the streets, or just drive the neighborhoods, and you'll be able to see kind of what you like. So the next question is, with all the bidding war and a lot of cases in resale, why don't people go more towards the pre-construction route? There's two reasons for that. First thing is people want to move now, and pre-construction, oftentimes they're going to be waiting a year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on when it's actually being built. Another reason is affordability. So the way kind of house prices have gone up over time is you have the land, which is appreciating, and then you have the building and the structure itself, which actually depreciates. So a lot of these pre-construction homes, you're paying, let's just say, $1 million for that home, when you can buy a resale home, similar size, being older, with a bigger lot, and you might be looking at $900,000. So it'll be a little bit cheaper. But then there's people who just prefer new homes, and I've gone through 3 new homes, so I'm officially done. So if I ever move from here, it's going to be into a resale home where the house has been painted, there's curtains and blinds, and there's a fenced backyard, and we're moving into grass and driveway. So I'm done with pre-construction, and a lot of the time it's just a hassle. And so that's kind of why people don't necessarily go the pre-construction route, is they might not have time on their side, or they just can't afford anything. Because right now, if you're looking at Whitby, you're getting back-to-back townhomes in and around the $600,000 price range, where you can get a older detached home, older townhome, which would have a fenced backyard, which is completely freehold, in and around that price, or a little bit more. So if you're going to compare house for house, buying brand new is going to be quite a bit more expensive. Let me just check the different feeds to see if there's any more questions. Yeah, so if there's any more questions, ask away. The builders that I've personally dealt with moving into homes, just for anybody watching who is looking at the pre-construction. So my first pre-construction home was a Tribute semi-detached that was in North Oshawa. My second pre-construction home was a Minto-built home in King Meadow, which is in that Winfields or that North Oshawa section. And then my third new home has been with Minto Ivy Ridge. So all three of my experiences with these builders has been very positive. And when you move into a new home, there's going to be issues that come up. And the number one most important thing is how they're going to deal with it. And the construction team for Tribute and Minto was fantastic. They rectified any issues. They were able to fix it right away. The staff is friendly and they go out of their way to really make you feel like you're being taken care of. And so that's kind of like the positives that I can say for Tribute and Minto. I've never personally dealt with any other builders that are out there, so I can't speak in terms of how they might be, but I do know that there are builders, and I'm not going to name names or anything like that, where there's been quality issues, where the workmanship has been poor, materials used has not been very good, or everything came extremely basic, where it's like brass doorknobs, where Minto and Tribute used the brushed steel type door handles, not the little doorknobs. Just little things like that, where you have the old school globe light fixtures, where Minto and Tribute used nothing extravagant, but it was those like 3 bulb fixtures that they just let off a lot of light. So it was like really bright. So my experience with those builders has been really good. Both areas have been really good as well. Let's see if there's any more questions, and then I'll sign off. I think that is all. If you haven't already, check out the channel. It's living in the Greater Toronto area. And again, if you just type Oshawa or Oshawa, Whitby, Ajax, Pickering, you will be able to, you'll be able to see my channel, subscribe to it, watch the videos. You can like them, share it with people that you know that are moving into the area, and definitely be thankful if you do that. Like I said earlier, which I don't think anybody heard because I had no volume, I just hit 400 subscribers today. So that was kind of a cool little experience. For the first 5 months of having this channel, I had 5 or 6 or 10. It was super low, but I stuck with it. And now, the subscribers have definitely been growing. And the reason I like having the subscribers grow is because the more likes I get and the more subscribers I get, YouTube pushes my videos in front of more people. And that can really go to help, because there's still tons of people who are looking to move to either Toronto, Pickering, Whitby, Ajax, Oshawa, and they still haven't gone onto YouTube to see that there's all this information out there for them. And so yeah, if you know people that are looking to move this way, you can let them know that there's a YouTube channel geared towards helping them select this area with what they would need to know. And if you know anybody else looking to buy, sell, invest, whatever, you can give them my information. These videos gives people an opportunity to really get to know me as a person, and not just as a realtor. And the one thing I really like about this YouTube is the people that I've been able to help has it's been a different type of experience. I'm so used to having to chase people or convince people to work with me, where with the YouTube, the people that are reaching out, it's they're trusting me right off the bat. So I'm able to just spend time educating them on the areas, and not so much as the benefits of why they should be working with me, because I kind of shared all those benefits up front. So again, thanks for everyone for watching. I just have 2 more questions. I hope Icon Homes are good, or I am going to be in trouble. I think, Support World, I do remember you reaching out after my first live video that I did. and you were the one that kind of let me know that there was questions not being asked or answered. So that's why I'm constantly checking on the Facebook feed and the YouTube feed and the Twitch feed. That way I'm not missing any of these questions. But when I did my research behind it, Icon did have a good reputation. They have built quite a bit, so you have nothing to worry about. The main thing that is going to be the deciding factor for you is going to be their master care and then their construction team. And then Ren, one last, so that was Support World's question. And then Ren, you are asking, or you answered, I am 401. Okay, so I mean, thank you very much, Ren. I appreciate that. 401, and hopefully it keeps growing. I appreciate everyone who does subscribe to the channel. And as always, and what I mentioned kind of in my videos is if you have questions related to moving here or real estate related questions, you can reach out. My phone is always on. You can call, text, email, whatever is easiest for you. With people who have been reaching out from overseas, they have been, WhatsApp. So I've been able to do WhatsApp messages or Facebook calls. I've been able to communicate with people from all over the world, and it's because of the technology. And I freaking love that. Like it's just amazing. Like to do a Zoom call with somebody who is in Nigeria, or to do a Zoom call with somebody who's in Mexico. And the cool part about the people from Mexico is I stayed in contact with them for months, and then they finally came here. And while they were in quarantine, I was able to go out and help them find a house. So being able to help them and be a part of everything has been great. And so I'm really thankful for that. And like the more people that know about the channel, I feel the more people it will be able to help. And these videos every week, I'm going to be pumping them out because I feel like it's really going to help people. And that's what I'm all about with this, is providing the information. Because if you are moving to a new city or moving to Canada from a different country, then there's a lot you're going to want to know. And I just met with people that came from South Africa. And they mentioned that they were sharing my videos to their families from they were sharing my videos with their families in South Africa. So it's like a whole bunch of neat stuff like that. So I'm, Ren, thank you for being subscriber 401. Appreciate that. And, I hope I'm able to help you with the videos, or down the road if you are looking to buy, pretty much like I said, anywhere within the Greater Toronto area. I know the areas, I know the markets, and it's easy because the Greater Toronto area is all the same type of market where it's just crazy. So if Burlington is going to be dead, then that means Oshawa is going to be dead. So it doesn't matter where you're looking. I can help you with that. And I guess again, everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you found this live useful. And next month I'll be doing another one. I don't know, maybe I'll get into doing it regularly. I don't know, but it's just hard with the real estate because today at 8 o'clock I knew that I had nothing planned, but 2 Sundays ago at this time I was doing showings and offers. So it's not always able to stick to a specific time for these lives, but I will try and do them as much as I can, and go from there. So thanks again for everyone who watched. And if you have other questions, or you ask questions that I wasn't able to answer, it's because I didn't see them, and I apologize for that. But feel free to email. I will. I'll put my phone number up here. Second, and then my email address. Okay, so this is the 905 number is my cell phone number. You can call, text, and then that's my email address underneath there. Feel free to reach out anytime, and then I'm more than happy to help with everything. And other than that, thanks again for watching, and I hope